All right, well, we're back inside Sportlight and on set with us.
The legend!
The legend. The man, the girls, them sugar. Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. Anthony Sherwood. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate the invite.
Now, the reason that I call you is because about a week ago, secondary schools football decided to tell you that you're one of the, is it one of the top 50 during that decade or one of the top 50 full stop?
I don't know, to be honest with you. Now, I think it was the first 50 years of colleges league football.
Right.
So it wouldn't include, obviously, the guys who are playing today.
Right.
You know, guys who played maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Right. So,
I think the 2000s would have been the last
so like
era.
from 1960 to, or 1950 to 2000?
2000, all the way through to the 2000s.
Scrap that.
Yeah.
Ever. Ever.
Anthony, tell us about your career there at secondary schools, because it had to be a special kind of football back in those days.
I don't remember too much of it. I mean, other than the fact that, you know, I know the league was well supported. One of the things that I remember constantly is the fact that every time you played football back in those days, there were always really, really big crowds. And so, I mean, definitely. So what it meant is that, you know, for young guys who were playing football, you know, that was really like a big goal of yours, to get to that stage, to get to that platform.
I remember coming to see you play in a Southern Intercol final, Skinner Park.
Right.
With my partners, you might know them, Mark Celestin.
Yes.
Jason Dobson.
Of course. I know them very well. Yeah.
Right? You see you laughing there. And I mean, how many of those, what was that experience like?
It was a special time for football. You know, one of the things I always talk to footballers today about is the fact that I feel for them. You know, I think it's sad that they will never really experience the exhilaration and the hype and the vibe that players experienced back in those days. You know, and one of the things I would love to see is us getting back to a point where these guys have an opportunity to experience something like that. You know. It's sad. I mean, I have kids that I coach today. I have a little academy in South. And that's one of the things that we constantly talk about. They must be the generation that becomes a catalyst for bringing people back into the football, you know. So even though they're young guys, I mean, we put that sort of responsibility on their shoulders, you know.
Yeah, I mean, back in them days, you're talking about if you reach late, you're about 3 or 4 people behind the line.
True.
4 or 5 horse.
Definitely.
Right? To control the crowd.
Definitely.
When your team score a goal,
Yeah.
pitch invasion, match stop for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the whole vibe, when people go to an intercol match these days, it's like sanitized.
We always talk about that long ago when you're going to intercol match in the stadium and you tell your girl you're meeting her underneath the scoreboard.
Right.
When you're going there, you have to actually
You gotta look
for her. You gotta go and look for her. They tell like, well, you could just go and stand and you say, you see, nah, you gotta look.
But the big question is, why has that happened? You know?
And the girls out there who coming on next going to tell us because of poor marketing.
Yeah.
I don't think secondary schools football has been marketed. Everybody thought, well, it's doing good. Then we just think and then all fall down, eh?
I agree. I don't think we market anything all that well as it pertains to sport. And I think for the football in particular, you know, we went from a generation where people came out, that was their entertainment.
Right.
To an era now where you had to, all of a sudden, you had to do work. Yeah, you had to do work. And what Trinidadians are saying, or supporters of football are saying, is that if you're going to get my $30, you know, you've got to put on a show.
Yeah, you gotta do something.
We must be entertained. And one of the bad things I think that's happening is that there is a perception that the football today is not of a certain level.
No, that's
Every time.
I want to jump in on that point.
Yeah.
You coaching youth, right?
Right.
Nowadays, you're seeing kids 5 years old and their mommy and they're silent and they're panicking, you know, because the whole soccer mommy thing is there. They're coaching clinics all over the country.
Yeah.
Yet still people talking about the quality. I mean, I don't know at your age group. When did you start kicking ball in a formal environment like that?
Probably when I was 12 years old.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there was no, you know, I don't recall ever having a coach, you know, who would tell you, listen, this is the way you pass a football. This is the way you strike the ball. I mean, it was one of those things where you were in a savannah surrounded by about 40 guys, and you had to hold your own, you know, and you develop your coordination, your balance, your technique, just based on your desire to, you know, to fit in, you know.
Is it that you think we're coaching out our natural instincts? Is sweat no longer relevant? I don't know.
Yeah, at a certain level, I think. I mean, at a certain level, if you talk about international football, the truth of the matter is that kids in Mexico, kids in the States where I was based, are in very structured, very organized environment. So at 14, 15, I always say most of our guys in the States are more battle-tested than a typical 14, 15-year-old in Trinidad.
Right.
They understand what it means to jump in a car and drive 4.5 hours, jump out, warm up, and play a game, and they expect it to perform. So there are no excuses, you know. And they've done that since they've been 11, 12 years old, you know. A lot of people in this country believe that serious football begins at under 14 and under 15.
No.
A lot of times our national teams are going out to play these CONCACAF tournaments. Their first encounter with serious football, if you will, is at these tournaments. So it's almost impossible to make the adjustments. You're playing with kids who are
better.
You know, more prepared.
I want to go back a little bit. Tell us one of the best goals you ever score in your mind at school level for presentation. Now you played for presentation back in the day.
Right.
Tell us one of the goals you thought, that was boy. boy. It looked hot.
I don't know if any of the goals I scored. I mean, I wasn't noted for being a goal scorer. Well, the last year I played football, some or the other, you know, I got a few goals. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that we brought in, you know, quite a few guys who were supposed to play that role, and it wasn't working out, you know. So as a midfielder, I assumed the responsibility. But I remember playing in Skinner Park against St. Benedict's College in those days. That was a massive rivalry.
Massive rivalry.
Massive rivalry.
Easy.
It was sometimes intimidating because the crowds literally were right there on the cycling track. You know, there's a cycling track in Skinner Park. And I mean, you go and you take a corner and you're in the St. Benedict section over there. And, you know, I mean, you have guys with bottle in their hands. And,
people talking about shrimp banana.
You know.
Welcome a banana.
And I'm telling you. And I remember scoring a goal on that particular day, and it was big. I mean, everybody ran onto the field, and then St. Benedict scored, and then the same thing happened. We ended up losing that game in penalty kicks, but that one was big only. I remember that one because there was just so much pressure. I think that was my last year. I knew it was my last year. I was in 6-1. I knew I was going up to the States, and I wanted to try my best to finish the league in a good way, you know. But you know how things go in football. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
How devastating was the injury?
You know, in the grand scheme of things, that wasn't a bad injury. When you think about injuries, a knee injury like the one Kevin Molino, for instance, suffered, is considered to be a really not a bad injury. It's, you know, everything you could recuperate from anything. But a broken leg in football today is something that, you know, once you're surrounded by the right people, you do your rehab, you know, you can come back from a broken leg, you know, without too much of an issue. The problem for me is that when I broke my leg, a lot of people who were supporting football knew about it. So what happened from that point on is that every time I played a game once I came back, if I jumped away from a tackle that anybody would jump away from, the first thing I would hear is that people are saying that psychologically, you know, he's out of it, he's afraid to, you know, to engage and get enough. And that followed me for as long as I could remember, to be honest with you. You know, I was always being compared to my football pre-injury, you know, post-injury. And it became really, really frustrating. First thing national coaches would ask me is that, you know, are you psychologically ready? You know, you're still suffering, you need a little more time.
You need a walker.
You know, it was insane, man. It was frustrating, you know, and I think it ultimately led to me just, you know, I'm going up to these States and and you know, and that was it really.
Anthony, a pleasure having you
It was
here.
my pleasure. It was my
Of course,
pleasure.
you talk, really bring back memories there, Skinner. I tell you, that clash was Naparima. I think it was Naparima versus, I think I was at that same Benedict's game you talked about, but I definitely was at that Naparima. South India Cup final was Naparima presentation, I think.
Yes, a few of them.
Man, you're afraid this fella.
Yeah.
I ain't know about that, but I don't know.
Alright, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna be talking international news and we're gonna look at who get it done, and then we bringing on Rheeza Grant and Chanelle Young from the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee. They're here to talk sports marketing, and of course, you know, we really need that. Taking a break, of course, you're looking at Sportlight, you're looking at We Sports, Channel 14 and Flow.
Don't go nowhere.
Don't go nowhere.
Well, nice. Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it.
Yes.